Hello, hello. Welcome to another Green Tech Southwest event. I'm happy to have you here. So we'll get started in about sort of 8 minutes or so. We did just briefly lose Mike ahead of going live, so it could be a little bit later, but hopefully we found him again. I stupidly jinxed it by saying we've not run into any technical difficulties in our little warm-up session, so definitely blame me if we are getting a bit late to start. But yeah, it's great to have you all here. Firstly, welcome. So I've got a really exciting event for everyone today, and I think it's come at quite a good time. I don't know if anyone's like me, but it's getting a bit colder, so I've just started switching the heating on, and that does always make me a bit anxious about the climate change and what we can do and are we doing the best. So yeah, hydrogen is definitely a very interesting topic in that regard in terms of clean energy, and it's definitely been sort of a buzzword over the summer. But yeah, it's good to remain critical, and that's why I've got the wonderful Ulrike here to give us that overview. So yes, as many of you know, this year we just like to open up the room a little bit earlier to let everyone get settled, make sure you're all in the right place, get a cup of tea, check your audio, make sure everything's working. And for anyone who's new, I'll just go through some like general housekeeping. It's not even really housekeeping, it's just like what you can expect from us. No scary surprises. So yeah, it'd be great if you could all introduce yourselves. I do sort of tend to just waffle on a little bit unless someone stops me. So save me from myself and yeah, just introduce yourselves. Sort of let me know where you're tuning in from, what brings you here. It'd be good to know as well if this is one of your first events, or if you're sort of a seasoned Green South. Do you know what? I'm going to abandon that. Green Tech Southwest, I was going to say, but that ended up being too much of a tongue twister. But yeah, so I actually can't, my chat function has just weirdly disappeared. So I say all this, oh no, here we go, got it back. Sorry, it's all going awry first, straight out the gate there. So got some familiar faces. Hi, Catherine, thanks for joining us. And we've got Ulrike in the chat already as well, so great. Really looking forward to hearing from you. And David Lucas in Bath as well. I saw you got in there nice and early, David. So yeah, thanks for joining. And straight in there with a question as well. So yeah, feel free to chat amongst yourselves. Anything you want to share, anything that exciting related to the topic, please feel free to pop that in the chat as well, because yeah, we love to hear it, we love to see it. It's really one of the best things about doing these events online, is just how much you guys are chatting in the comment section, bouncing off each other, providing information. The links and resources that you guys come up with is endless, so we absolutely love it, and it's always great to sort of see the relationships that you guys have with each other in the chat as well. We often get people who've worked together previously go like, oh hi, I didn't know you were here. So yeah, definitely one of my favorite parts of the events. So yeah, as I said, just some general sort of structure and format. So as I mentioned, we've already got a question in there in the sort of ask a question section at the bottom. That is the best way to get, we'll have a QA session at the end with Ulrike. I anticipate it's such a chewy topic that I imagine there'll be quite a few questions. So yeah, if you do have a question, please pop it in the ask a question section. It should be just down to the bottom or on the left or the right side of your screen, depending on which browser you're on. But yeah, that's the best way for us to keep track of it and make sure your questions get asked. And as well, if you see a question in there that you think, oh, I'd really like to know the answer to that, you can also upvote questions or downvote, but we don't like to encourage that. We'll also be putting up polls throughout the chat, the talk as well, which will be sort of next to the ask a question section, just to get a bit of a feel for what you might know about the topic already, what your understanding is, and yeah, just a bit of fun really. We know how to have fun at Green Tech Southwest. So I'd also like to sort of draw attention to our next event. So we've got something quite exciting for you next month. It's something a bit different for us. So we put a lot of time and energy into curating an insightful panel discussion, which sort of discusses and highlights how you guys can make a difference in the tech scene in 2022. sorry, keep up with the times, Ellen, 2022. And, I think it'd just be really good coming off the back of COP26. I know there's sort of been a lot of comments about, what can we actually do to take action coming off the back of that. So I think it ties in quite nicely. And we've got some really exciting speakers. So I think Hannah's going to drop a link for that right on cue in the comment section as well. Do check it out. Like I said, it is something a bit different for us, just to end the year on. And I think it'd be really tie in really nicely and get you geared up for 2022. So do check that out. So yes, we'll be getting started in a couple of minutes or so. For those of you who've just joined us, welcome. Great to have you here. My name's Ellen, and I'll be one of the co-founders of and co-organisers of Green Tech Southwest. And we'll be getting started pretty soon. Just wanted to highlight as well, we have for those of you who've sort of been with us quite a few times, you'll know this bit inside and out. Apologise, but we also want to make sure that this community is as beneficial to everyone and as sort of accessible to everyone as possible. Sorry, my speech is just not working today. I guess that's one of the problems of working from home. You don't actually speak to that many people. So we'll be doing a sort of 60-second intro section just before the talk. It just is an opportunity for anyone who's got anything to share, little or small, humble bragging, as we like to call it. It could be a project that you'd like to promote. It could be another talk, or it could be a call to action, or call for help as well. We've had a lot of people sort of make connections through Green Tech Southwest who've sort of supported on each other's projects, which is always really excited. So sort of obviously green tech related, green related. So if you do want to take part in that, I just thought I'd give you a little heads up. Hannah will be sort of making that known just before we welcome Ulrike, and we'll be able to invite you on screen. So if that is something you'd like to take part in, just pop your name down in the comment section and we'll invite you on screen. Just a little heads up, it does tend to work better if you're on Google Chrome. I know we've had a few technical hiccups on other browsers, so I don't know if that'll make a difference. But Mike, you're back.
I'm off again.
Oh, you're off. Just wanted to share a bit of the limelight for a second there. No, that's good. Glad to have him back. I would have felt a bit guilty if I'd jinxed it. So not long now. It's good to see you guys all flooding in. Really looking forward to this one. Like I said, it's definitely been a hot topic throughout 2021. It's been good to see two sides of the coin there. David Martin, hi, how are you doing? Welcome to Green Tech Southwest, and thank you for introducing yourself. It sounds like you're working on some really cool stuff, working as part of a sustainable schools group and national projects tackling air pollution. Nice. Hannah, there you are.
Hello. Hi. So, Ellen, you might be interested to know, poor Mike just disappeared because I think he had a Windows update. Oh, sorry, no. Mike. I know I'm saying that on air. You're probably like, oh, Hannah, why did you say that? It's kind of quite amusing.
It's unbelievable. Everything froze and then just disappeared.
You handled it very well. I probably would have thrown a chair out of the window, like, oh my God, what's going on? Anyway.
Wouldn't make you very popular hot desking though, would it?
That's a very good point. Anyway, right, I shall bring up the slides and we shall get this show on the road even more officially than you already did, Ellen. Cool. We have slides up, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, good. Okay, let's go then. So, you've already heard from Ellen, our hostess with mostess, filling in that awkward silence before we started our event officially today. So Ellen, thank you very much. And as Ellen encouraged you to do, please do chat in the comments. It's lovely when people introduce themselves and let us know who's here. Online meetups can be a bit awkward sometimes, so the chat feed is the way that we can connect with each other. So please do make heavy use of that if you feel comfortable today. Anyway, massive welcome to you all. Thank you so much for joining us. We've had a huge number of RSVPs for today's event, and we kind of had an inkling that hydrogen would be an interesting event for everyone, and looks like that has been the case. So before we get going with Ulrike, our speaker today, let us extend a warm welcome to you, to Green Tech Southwest, and tell you a little bit about us as a meetup and what we're all about. So first up, we're called Green Tech Southwest. We are sponsored by AdLib Recruitment, who Mike works for. So thank you. I don't know if Nick is here with us today. Nick is the MD, but if you are with us today, Nick, thank you for your continued support of the meetup. It's much appreciated. And we're also supported by two networks, the Future Economy Network, or now known as the Future Leap Network, and Climate Action Tech. And we will talk a little bit more about those other communities at the end of today's session. We're also on social media. So hopefully you can see on the screen at greentech_swest is our Twitter handle, and the very fantastic Joe Mawson will be live tweeting about the event today. So Joe, if you're with us, as always, a massive thank you to you for the excellent tweeting that you do. You really are so good at it, and we are very grateful for your assistance with that. So thank you, Joe. Great. Yes, we're looking forward to today's event as well, Joe. And we also have a presence on LinkedIn as well, Green Tech SW. And the three of us do quite a bit of social mediaing in between these events, sharing stuff about green tech, sharing stuff that our speakers are putting out. So if you're interested in keeping tabs on what's going on in the world of green tech, I'd suggest you follow either account. Okay, so I mentioned we a few times, and there are three of us on the screen. So very briefly, just so you know who we are, the three of us in the slides and also here live in person are your organisers. So I'm Hannah. Ellen, give us a wave, Ellen. I mean, I'm sure people will know who's Ellen and who's Mike, but never mind. And Mike on the right there as well. So we're your organisers. Today's event is not about us. Today's event is about hydrogen and our speaker, Ulrike. So we're not going to say anything further about ourselves, but we're all on LinkedIn. And if you want to find us and make friends, then we'd love that. That would be super cool. Okay, but moving on. Just a little bit more then about our group and what we aim to do. So the reason why the three of us have founded and run these events is because we wanted to create a space to share insight and generate discussion about how technology can heal or harm our environment. All three of us are really passionate about trying to find solutions to climate change, and this is one of the ways that we are taking action, is by running these meetups and getting all you lovely folks together and getting our wonderful speakers here as well. And the other thing that we like to do with these meetups is support a local community. So we are called Green Tech Southwest. We're in the southwest of England, but as we always say at all of these events, we don't care whether you're from the southwest of England. You are welcome to be here with us wherever you're from, whether you're in the UK, whether you're further afield, whether you know loads about tech or whether you don't know loads about tech. And maybe you're new to learning about the climate crisis and learning about sustainability. Whatever your reasons for being here, we are really pleased that you've taken the time to come and very grateful to have you as part of our community. So a really huge welcome to you all. We also aim to have an open and inclusive ethos. So as I mentioned, everyone is welcome, whatever your reasons for being here and whoever you are, you're welcome to be with us today. And I think probably Mike is sharing the code of conduct and our constitution into the comments. You're welcome to take a look at those if you want to. Our code of conduct, be nice. That's it, basically it. Just be nice to people and be understanding, and you may have a difference of opinion, and that's absolutely cool if you have a difference of opinion on things, but above all things, please be respectful of other people's opinions and listen and keep an open mind. And that's all we ask of you. Right, moving on. Oh yeah, so I finally updated this slide. Okay, so for the last 3 meetups, I've had a slide with an error in, and I think Chris, who's here with us today, kept pointing out my error. Anyway, I finally updated it. Hooray! We've been going for a little while now, about 18 months, and we've had a fantastic group of speakers come and join us here. And some of our past speakers are here. In fact, Sarah's here. Hello, Sarah. Welcome. Great to have you today. So anyway, if you want to catch up on any of our past speaker content, we have been busy compiling it all and adding it to our website, greentechsouthwest.org. So you're welcome to go and check out our past speaker content there. Okay, so moving on. Ellen mentioned already that we have this little thing called Community 60-second intros. And these intros are an opportunity for anyone in the audience today to take the stage for 60 seconds and share something. So those sorts of things might be a green tech project or initiative that you're working on that you just think's cool and you think people might want to know about. Or maybe a request for help or guidance, or maybe some knowledge or a resource that you've come across recently that you would like to share with others. So it's kind of the equivalent of standing up in the room and going, hello, everyone, I found this thing, or I know this thing, or I'd like help with this thing, or I'm doing this thing. You know, we trust you to introduce something appropriate to the group. Now, I don't know about you, Mike and Ellen, I haven't spotted anyone want to do a community 60-second intro today. I got a feeling Chris might. Chris and I were chatting on Cat Slack. So Chris is going to do a community 60-second intro. You can see what Chris does, and then perhaps the rest of you that are perhaps on the what's the word? On the cusp of taking us up on the offer. You can see what Chris does, and then you can decide perhaps whether it's something you feel comfortable doing as well. So Chris, welcome.
Thanks very much, Hannah.
Long-standing member. It's great to have you back with us today. Thank you for coming, as
Not
always.
too much pressure. See what Chris does.
I'm not-
Then decide whether that was a total car wreck. I'm going to do the Boris Johnson presentation. Peppa Pig, hairdryer, Russell.
Excellent. Well, it would be amusing anyway. And at least you're not in charge of the country, so that's, would be a good thing. Anyway, I'm bringing politics into it. Naughty Han. Right, shouldn't do that. Anyway, Chris, you know how to do this. You've done this many times before at the meetup, so please, over to you. What would you like to share with us today?
Well, thank you very much, Hannah. Hi, everybody. Appreciate them. 60 seconds. There's a lot of meetups like Green Tech Southwest that are very much focused on what companies are producing, the products and services that they have, and the interesting technology that's coming to bear on all of these areas of sustainability. But I felt that there was a gap for sort of stories from the trenches approach. And so with a friend here in Cambridge, we are kicking off an event on Thursday lunchtime at 12:30, which is much more focused on what it's like working in these companies. What are the jobs that are there? What are the challenges they have? What recruitment do they need? What was their story of getting to where they got to with their company? And we've got, on Thursday, we've got two great speakers. Chris Butterworth, who those of you in Climate Action Tech might recognize his name. He's the Digital Sustainability Director at Yard, and he's done a lot of really good work on green web development. And Tim Chambers, who is a founder at Exuviate, who are a green data center company. I say they're going to be talking a little bit about what their business is, but a lot more about what the work is like. And the idea is to try and inspire people to join. So if you work in green tech, or if you want to work in green tech, we'd love to have you along to learn a bit more about what jobs there are out there. I'll share a link to the meetup sign up page in the chat in a second.
Brilliant. Thank you, Chris. I'm really excited. I love your take on what you're planning to do there with stories about people in the trenches and kind of, talking about it from the coalface. I think that's a really, really welcome take on green tech events. So, yeah, thank you for sharing that with us today. And I'm going to do my best to come along as well.
Lovely to have you, Hannah. Thanks for having
thank you. And Chris is great as well. I'm a big fan of his tool beacon. So brilliant. All right. Thank you, Chris. Okay, we'll say goodbye to Chris, and we have Andy, another long-standing Green Tech Southwest supporter. So Andy, thank you. It's great to have you with us today. I know you've missed the last few with various event clashes, so good to have you. It's
good not to have the clash. Although I'm a big fan of the Clash, actually, old school band. Anyway, yeah, just a quick 60-second shout out. Hi everyone. Yeah, I've been part of Green Tech Southwest for since the beginning, I guess. I'm Andy. I work with Business on Purpose and help businesses go through the B Corp certification process. If you've never heard of it, it's a bit like fair trade is to coffee, so B Corp is to business. I run a Couch to 5K program, which helps you just assess how good you are or are not and come up with an impact plan to improve that in terms of your social and environmental impact. It's a 10-step program across 3 months, an hour a week, not too painful. And this year I will have helped 60 clients go through that. So it's been a great amount, got some great feedback, and happy to help anyone that is tech and environmentally aware and conscious. Thanks, Hannah. Nice to see you all.
Perfect. Thank you, Andy. And I think I'm sharing one of your events in the slides at the end of the session as well today. I think, pretty sure it's your event. Anyway, thank you very much. It's fantastic. Great example of how to do a 60-second intro. Thank you, Andy. So Andy, we've said goodbye to Andy. I think I saw Matt is going to come on the screen. So I think, Matt, we're just inviting you now. So here we go, a few. I was like, oh no, I'm going to have to fill in the gaps. Matt, welcome. Thank you for joining us on screen at Green Tech Southwest today.
A pleasure. Sorry, I had absolutely no volition to do this until you asked, so I haven't really prepared anything.
No, but that's cool. It's fun when it's off the cuff. Anyway, over to you. Take your 60 seconds.
Thank you. Some of you may know me from my background working in the West of England Combined Authority, encouraging energy and clean tech investment into the region. And then some of you may know me from before that, when I ran the predecessor, is that the before, to Future Leap, currently at that time Low Carbon Southwest. So I've always been kind of attached to clean tech and decarbonisation. Very recently, I have been seconded into a Department for Education research project into how to decarbonise the sectors of aerospace and advanced engineering and health and social care. So I am looking to talk to anyone who is either attached to those industries or affiliated to those industries, and in particular has an understanding of how climate change will affect the sectors going forwards. It's a very short-term project. It's running until March. I really want to make sure we are helping businesses prepare for how every sector will need to decarbonise, and the terminology I hate, what the green jobs of the future will look like, is a trick question. They will all be green jobs. Yeah, if I can send my email address to anyone, please do get in touch. If you're interested in decarbonising any sectors going forwards, just give me a shout.
Amazing, Matt. Thank you. It's a very welcome 60-second intro, and you didn't need to prepare at all. That was spot on and bang on the money. Please do feel free to share your details, Matt, in the chat. So anybody who's interested in getting in touch with you will know how to do that. Brilliant, thank you. And so I think we've had one more hand go up for a 60-second pitch. Catherine Piper. I think let's invite Catherine on, and then we might close the slots for that today. Otherwise we're not going to run on time, are we? So Catherine, we are going to be inviting you onto the screen right now. Here you are.
Can you hear
Welcome.
Me?
Yes, we can hear you fine. Brilliant. Thank you for joining us today.
I thought it was too good an opportunity not to come after Matt, because I'm actually Matt's successor from Low Carbon Southwest, and now called Future Leap. So in a nutshell, Future Leap, we help businesses on their net zero journey, and we help them with sustainable business practices, and we do that via various means. We put on weekly sustainability related events for a business audience. We have our big festival of sustainable business. We also are trying to walk the talk within our award-winning carbon neutral sustainable business hub on the Gloucester Road. So within the Future Leap Sustainable Business Hub, we have co-working, so people could come and join us here and sort of really walk the talk themselves as well. We've got our event space here, an eco cafe, and then we are showcasing different sustainable technologies within that space that, again, businesses might be able to think about incorporating within their organisations. So just really nice to be here. I'm excited to learn more about hydrogen. So thank you so much for putting this event on.
It's our pleasure, Catherine, and thank you to the network, because you've been really supportive of Green Tech Southwest. In fact, you spoke at our very first meetup all the way back in February 2021. Was that the year? I've lost a year somewhere. So thank you for the support you've given us. And we do actually talk a little bit about the network at the end as well. But I can keep that super short today because you've already done a great job. So,
job done.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Please do feel free to drop your contact details, Catherine, into the chat, and any further details you'd like to about Future Leap as well. Fantastic. So we are done, I think, with community 60-second intros today. Thank you so much to our 4 willing, I was going to say victims, but you kind of volunteered, so it's participants. Let's keep it more friendly. Thank you to our 4 participants for showing us how it's done and for introducing yourselves to us all. So we really appreciate that. So moving on, shall we hop on to Ulrike's talk? And Mike, I'll hand over to you.
Great stuff. Thanks, Hannah. Yeah, just inviting Ulrike to the stage.
Hi there.
Hi, Ulrike.
Good, thank you.
How are you? Great stuff. Thank you so much for coming along. As Hannah mentioned, we've been looking for a really great hydrogen speaker for quite a while, so it's really fantastic to have you come along and tell us everything about it. I'm sure there'll be lots of questions for you to pick up at the end. Yeah, just to encourage the audience, you can pop your questions in the Ask a Question section, or if you forget and just put it in the chat, don't worry, we'll pick it up and we'll add them, and hopefully we can get through as many as we can at the end. So yeah, I'll hand over to you, Ulrike. Thank you so much again, and we'll catch up shortly.
Yeah, I'm just going to introduce myself quickly so you know who's talking to you at the moment, and then I will share my screen and my slides as well. So I'm Ulrike Hinz. I am from Germany and also working in Germany for the WWF. And there my role is a policy advisor for climate and energy politics. And I'm concentrating especially on hydrogen and power-to-X topics. So I'm really active in the hydrogen power-to-X world. I'm working in one of the main research projects at the moment around hydrogen with a lot of companies, a lot of institutions, be it universities or institutes as well. That is really exciting. And yeah, I think this topic in general has become really important and really major in the last 1 or 2 years. Again, sorry for the sound. It's already been there, but now I think like it's really a topic that concerns the whole world as well. And I want to share a little bit about hydrogen with you today. Probably not everything, because that would be quite a lot. It's quite a big topic in itself. And I do see the challenge a little bit of like picking up all of you basically, because some of you might know a lot about climate politics already, and specifically hydrogen. Some might not know so much about hydrogen. So please forgive me if it's too in depth or if it's too on the surface, but I'm trying to like compromise, do a little bit of a storyline, at least to pick up all of you to a certain extent, as much as I can with the information and the little time also that I have. And I try not to be that long with my presentation, so we will have more time to take in your questions then, so you can really also say what's interesting for you and what you want to know. And yeah, can you see that all right?
Those slides are perfect, Ulrike. Looks great to us. Okay,
perfect. So feel free to interrupt. I cannot see you anymore and the audience, so if anything, please just interrupt me. That'd be great. All right, cool. Then I start. I chose the title, The Hydrogen Hype, What It Can and Cannot Contribute to Our Paris Goals, because I want to frame it a little bit in hindsight of like what hydrogen can do for our climate goals or not. And I'm very sure you're all aware of the Paris Agreement, of course, But just in order to start off with the bigger picture here, I don't know if you might know this picture. These are the warming stripes, a graphic designed by Ed Hawkins. And he basically looked at the medium temperature over the years. So this is basically all the years since 1850, the global temperature change. And you can see, obviously, it was rather cold when you look to the left, which is 1850. And especially in the last couple of years, it got warmer. And that's really something that is happening right now and that the world has also recognized. So that is why a lot of countries came together in 2016 in order to agree on the Paris Agreement, which was warming, condense the warming of our Earth significantly below 2 degrees and rather to 1.5 degrees. And it's really time to act now. So we basically have this decade in order to act, and otherwise we can probably not reverse the change that would be coming up on us. So this is quite an important topic, and it's great that all the countries are discussing together again. I mean, just COP26 in Glasgow. I mean, you've heard about it probably a lot more than even we in Germany on the news. So it was just in Glasgow, and a lot of things have happened there. Some call it a rather blah, blah, blah event like Greta Thunberg. Others call it a breakthrough or something historic. I think the reality is somewhere in between. It's great that all countries are not talking about at least a coal phase down. It's not a coal phase out yet, which is of course a little bit sad. But I think at least like all the countries are talking about it, which is really important as well. And why is that so important? I just want to stress again, like every 10th degree really counts. So there is a difference if we reach 1.5 degree warming or 2 degree warming in 2050. That's just a graphic that I think the WWF UK and Germany came up with together. So if you just look at the up extreme weather bit, then with 1.5 degrees, we will have 100% increase in flood risks. But with 2 degrees, we will have 170% increase in flood risks. And I'll leave you a second just to look at what might be interesting for you here. But it really is like the key message here is that every 10th degree counts and that we have to work on it all together. So moving on, you can also find this graph later. I think the slides will also be sent around after the event, so don't worry about it for now. Just a little recap. I'm pretty sure you're also aware of that, but like what is different from the Kyoto Protocol that we had earlier and the Paris Agreement that we had since 2016, especially the scope of the Kyoto Protocol back in the days was to reduce targets only for industrialized countries. And now we have all countries on board, actually, and we have like a reduction that really limits to these 2 degrees or ideally or preferably 1.5 degrees. So that is really important. I'm just gonna jump over here now and ask the question, okay, but that's nice. Thank you for explaining the Paris Agreement to me again, might be your thoughts. No, but really what I wanna get into is like, which role does hydrogen play in this? And just a little, like, I don't want to explain everything yet, but hydrogen is one of the cornerstones of reaching our Paris or climate goals. I would say it's not the only thing that we have to do, of course. So always take this in mind. Like, I'm not talking about hydrogen as like the solution for everything at all. It is a solution for some parts, which I will explain, but we have to do a lot more, of course, in order to reach our climate goals. So starting off with hydrogen. You might remember that from school. I guess that is the periodic table, or like at least one element from the periodic table. Hydrogen is actually the first element in our periodic system. And it's also odorless and the lightest element that we have. It loves to go into new connections with other elements, let's say. And I really like 2 quotes that I found that are very different, but both true somehow, even though the first one sounds especially weird. I'm just going to read it out to you. So Edward R. Harrison said, hydrogen is a light, odorless gas, which given enough time turns into people. And that's, of course, it takes out like millions of years that has happened between them. But hydrogen is actually one of the first elements on our Earth. So it has always been there, and that's quite striking for me just to imagine that at first. And then the second one is water will one day be employed as fuel, that hydrogen and oxygen with constituted used singly or together, will furnish an inexhaustible source of heat and light of an intensity of which coal is not capable of. And that is from Judith Verne. And that's crazy that he, especially as a novelist, already recognized hydrogen as something that could be quite powerful for us, I guess. And well, yeah, to let you in on this a little bit more, what I can actually do and not do, I just want to show you a little bit of how hydrogen is being produced, because you can find it on our Earth, but not that often. So it's very, very rare to be found. So we have to produce it basically in order to use it. And that's the color scheme, if you will, that everybody's talking about nowadays, like how we boxed hydrogen in different colors. For me, the most important hydrogen is the one produced from renewables. So that is the green hydrogen. You do it by electrolysis, by the process of electrolysis. So you take water and electricity, and that basically gives hydrogen and oxygen. As you can see, the chemical formula here. I just always try to think a little bit in chemical formulas as well, because then it's easier to recognize and understand when it can be used, when it cannot be used, what the side products of all these processes can be. So that's just a bit of a recap to the 8th or 9th grade, I guess. So that's the green hydrogen. Then we have purple hydrogen, which is also called red hydrogen sometimes. That's basically also an electrolysis process, but you don't use renewables, but you use nuclear energy. So some countries might be in favor of it. In Germany, we're not in favor of it because of the known problems with nuclear energy. Then you have turquoise hydrogen. This is pyrolysis. I'm not going to go into detail too much of the other colors, like the blue and gray are basically from methane, so from natural gas. The difference is that with the blue hydrogen, you take CO2 emissions that are being produced and you put them under the ground, or at least you store them somehow. So that's CCS, carbon capture and storage, if you've heard about it, probably. Then the gray is methane, normal, and the black is from coal. So especially the gray and black are not efficient at all, because when you produce hydrogen, then you lose a lot of, you don't lose energy, but it's not being converted as useful energy. So these are really not climate friendly at all. And then the best way to go in the long run is always the green hydrogen, because only that is from renewables, so we can ensure that no CO2 is being produced. All right, so that was the production, very briefly. Then I want to go into the usage of hydrogen a little bit, and just mention before that hydrogen will probably be quite a scarce resource, at least for now, at least in the next 5, 10, 15, 20 years. And why is that? Because you do produce this from renewables if you want to have the climate-friendly solution in the long run. But the thing is that we also need to basically green our electricity systems first before we can use additional hydrogen basically to produce additional renewables in order to produce green hydrogen. So we really have to put a focus on doing both at the same time to be greening our electricity mix, so have more renewables for electricity production. At the same time, we want to use the electricity, the green electricity, for hydrogen production. So there's a lot of demand for green electricity and for renewables. And as long as we're too slow with the expansion of capacity of these renewables, hydrogen will be scarce, basically. So technically it's working fine, but if it's not available, then you should use it for the applications that do not have an alternative, or that will have a lot of CO2 or emission reduction while using hydrogen. And that's why we have this letter here. You might know it from technical, your washing machine maybe as well. But it basically says when it's really, really efficient and when it's not efficient, and it's rather unavoidable for methanol production, for hydrocracking, for fertilizers and ammonia, especially also for aviation and shipping and very important industrial sectors that have a lot of CO2, that are very CO2 heavy, and that is the steel production. It's chemical feedstocks. You can actually, with power to X, or with hydrocarbons, you can add plastics. So you don't need to use oil anymore to produce plastics, but you can actually use hydrogen and carbohydrates in order to do that. And the cement production as well. So it actually has a lot of impacts then on a lot of different industrial sectors that we need to decarbonize in order to fulfill our CO2 reduction goals. It's not so efficient, or rather uncompetitive, in cars, in urban deliveries, in regional trucks, and rural trains, and all of that. But I'll go into that a little bit more in the next 2 slides. But just to recap here, since it will be rather scarce, at least as we know it, in the next couple of years, you should use it where it's really efficient in order to reduce CO2 emissions and where you don't have any other option. Whenever you can electrify directly, you should electrify directly. You should use electricity, because if you produce hydrogen, you lose 40% of the energy that you can use afterwards. So it's 40%, 30 to 40% less efficient. So if you power your car, it's a lot more efficient with electricity. And that's what I'm going to show you in this slide here, because a lot of people always think about your hydrogen powered cars. And an engineer will tell you, oh, great, like fuel cells are working perfectly. And also we can use, of course, power to liquid, so e-fuels with internal combustion engine vehicles. From an engineering point, that's absolutely correct from a technical point of view, but you have to look at the whole picture, like also the economic and also the ecological impacts from my point of view. So just in order to compare the 3 available options that we have here, leaving out full combustion vehicles with diesel and petrol. But if you look at the left, we have battery electric vehicles, which are powered 100% from renewable energies. Then you have a bit of losses, of course, because of the transmission and the battery use, which goes down over time, but eventually you will use 69% of the energy that came in through the electricity in order to move your car. If you look at fuel cell vehicles, you would use renewable power as well. You would lose some energy due to the transmission and electrolysis process. That gives you 67% that the hydrogen only has. And then the fuel cell, like in order to burn this hydrogen as well, takes away some efficiency, as well as the electric motor and the mechanical things that have to move then. So you end up with 26% of efficiency. And that, of course, is quite a difference compared to 69%. And then if you go one further to the internal combustion engine vehicles, you also start off with renewable power. You produce the hydrogen again, and then you produce power to liquids that are basically fuels, such as diesel and petrol, but not on the basis of oil. You have the liquid fuel that already only has 44% efficiency. And then if you take out the internal combustion, the engine, and the mechanical losses, you end up with 13% of total efficiency. And just that compared makes it clear that if we can use electric vehicles, which in the UK and Germany, for example, is not a problem, we do have some hurdles here. I'm absolutely aware of that. I was working in the field for a couple of years too. But it's possible, and therefore we should go for that. More or less the same applies for the heating sector. If you thought about hydrogen for heating sector, it might play a little role eventually where we cannot use heat pumps, electric heat pumps, but otherwise it's the same logic basically. With an electric heat pump, we have renewable power. Through the process of bringing energy inside from the outside, basically, we end up with a total efficiency of 258%, which of course is amazing. It's a great technology. With fuel cell heating, we have so many losses that we end up with 45% total efficiency. And with a gas condensing boiler with hydrogen, which is transferred to methane, we end up with an efficiency of 50%. So I don't go into the details here, but just to show you that the efficiency can be a lot better with other measures. So that was going a little bit into the sectors that hydrogen should be used for or should not be used for. I could explain a lot more about how exactly it's being used in the steel industry by the direct reduction, actually substituting like just carbon or a carbon product at least, and how it's being used in the cement industry and all that. But I think for now we don't have the time to do all that, but maybe I can inspire you to go a bit into a research session on your own and to see how that's exactly being used in the different sectors. now I want to go a little bit more into, okay, what does it actually have a relevance internationally or nationally? Who's talking about actually? Just to show you a little graph from the World Energy Council, sorry. And they have a graph of like which countries were bringing out their own hydrogen strategies in the past. Started off with Japan in 2017, and then France followed, South Korea, Australia, Netherlands, Germany, and you can see how it's getting closer that every country now basically has their hydrogen strategies. So a lot of countries are following at the moment, and so this is really gaining international relevance and importance quite fast. And why is that? I guess it's because a lot of countries have recognized that they can only transform their own industries when they also bet on hydrogen, and not all of the industries. And there's also a lot of other things that have to be done. Like, never forget that I said it's just one cornerstone of what we need to do internationally in general to decarbonize. But they've recognized the relevance of hydrogen at the moment. There was a bit of a hype and a momentum, I would say. And also, I think for a lot of countries, it's a big chance to export technology as well. So that's definitely something that Germany wants to do as well. So we see it as a chance in order to decarbonize our sectors, but we also see it as a chance to export clean technology. So for example, electrolyzers, how to produce hydrogen and all of that. So that definitely also is an incentive for the companies to think about that. And also, hydrogen will not only be produced in the country that is being used. We have a lot of producing countries, we have a lot of using countries, so imports and exports will definitely play a very important role as well. But I'm going to touch on that a little bit later again. Yeah, coming back to Germany for now, and maybe talk a little bit how Germany sees it, where hydrogen can play a role. I brought you like basically one of our studies from Agora Energiewende, which is a think tank in Germany, which is quite recognized. So it's not a WWF analysis, it's an Agora analysis, but I find it quite interesting. And it basically shows what we have to do or what could be done in order to decarbonize and reach our climate goals until 2045. In two slides, I will do that. Here you can see the greenhouse gas emissions of Germany on the left. For 2018, that's 858 million tons CO2 equivalent. And then they deducted basically what can change. And I just highlighted in boxes here the ones where hydrogen actually plays a role. So you get an understanding about like how powerful it can be or not be. And you can see in the energy sector, since we will have a phase out, that's of course due to renewables mainly, but hydrogen can be a bit of a buffer, like a storage solution as well. That's not that big, but it can be at least a measure to store electricity for the times when we don't have wind and solar, because we mainly have wind and solar in Germany, and of course they are very volatile and we cannot influence them. Then we have the industry. So that's the introduction of direct reduction of iron, what I mentioned before, so the steel industry. And we also have hydrogen for steam use. And yeah, then also other measures, of course, like transport, especially electric vehicles, buildings as retrofitting, agriculture as reduction of fertilizers. And we also have to have a change in waste. And here's the second step. So coming from our 2030 goal here, which is a minus 65% reduction already, we start off here again. And we want to go to net zero, basically in 2045. The rest that is still left there, the 63 million tons, are the ones that we plan to do with direct air capture and capture solutions, basically. So I'll leave that out for now. But on the left-hand side, again, you can see minus 109 million tons for hydrogen and biomass, hydrogen for steel, for chemical recycling, a little bit for CCS, for process emissions, so carbon capture and storage only when we can not abate some emissions, as it is the case, for example, for the cement industry. And in the energy sector, we will also replace a bit, as I said, of storage. And in the transport sector, it'll be especially freight transport, or rather ships and airplanes that cannot go with electrified solutions, because the batteries would purely be too heavy in order to have them there. So, and I have 2 more slides until I will open up for everybody. I think that expansion of renewables is key. I mentioned that already. That is the plan for Germany, for example, like how much renewables we want to have in expansion. You can see here the green bit in 2018. It was not that big, but you can see it's a lot in 2045. And in order to really be able to do that and also build the basis for the production of hydrogen, it's super important that we expand our renewables and we add more capacity to our grids. And that we really hope the next government, which was just elected and is discussing their coalition plans, which should be published maybe today, let's see, is talking about that. And we really hope that they make it possible and they find better solutions, because it's stagnated over the last 10 years a little bit, the renewables expansion. And that is the case for Germany, of course, but also internationally. Like, we need to green our electricity sectors, but also we will use green electricity in so many other sectors as well, which we call sector coupling. So it's super important to expand renewables. And by having said that, that's not the only thing. I want to, in my last slide, just come back to the aspects of imports and exports of hydrogen. There's a lot of talk about the color of hydrogen and green hydrogen. I think that's at least what Germany is settled on for now, like to have green hydrogen as the only sustainable hydrogen in the future. And I think that is great, but I think it's a little bit too short, the thoughts for now. I think also if we're importing from countries in Africa and Asia, in Latin America and all of that, it should be our focus to also look at other environmental criteria as well as governance, economic and social factors. So put it into a light of ESG framework, which you might know. So for example, to ensure that I said that for the production of hydrogen, you need water. And we're talking about very sun-heavy countries there. So if you talk about Morocco or Algeria, for example, we need to ensure that the water resources that we use for the electrolysis production process for the production of hydrogen is not going on the costs of the local citizens there that might not have water either to drink for themselves or to plant, like to keep the agriculture alive, for example. So that is really important. Also, if you expand renewables, they can also have not a negative, but you have to see why you're doing that. Like, they can also have an impact on the ecosystems there, of course. And also economically, we want to ensure that the countries who are the exporting countries also benefit from all the change, and that a job creation will be there. From the governmental side, there's potential corruption questions going on. So that's something that we also need to put a focus on, transparency. And from the social side, we also have to ensure that the work that is being created or the jobs that are being created are safe. So the human rights are being respected, and access to energy is given for the society as well. So the society there also profits from these projects and not only the importing countries. Yeah, that was a fast travel, I think, through the hydrogen world. It's a massive topic. I hope that I could maybe answer some of your questions, or you've learned a bit. You probably have a lot more questions now than you had before, and I'm happy to answer some of them as we can realize it now.
Brilliant. Thank you so much for that, Ulrike. Yeah, round of applause in the comments, everyone, if you don't mind. But yeah, that was fantastic. Some really great graphics there as well, to really understand, the pros and cons and what it can be applied for. So yeah, thank you very much for coming along and talking us through that. We've had some really good questions come through as well. So yeah, we'll crack on with those. If anyone thinks of any other questions they'd like to ask, just drop them in there. We'll see if we can get through as many as we can. So first up for you, Ulrike, we've got a question from Agnieszka. Hydrogen is a highly flammable gas. What are the solutions for storing and transporting it?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm not the very technical expert on these questions, to be honest, but it's a very good question that you're raising here, especially when it also comes to the acceptance of hydrogen. It is quite dangerous, or used to be quite dangerous. We've seen explosions in the past as well, but we already do have hydrogen cars that run fine. So the engineers make sure that, of course, the storage is being done in a very safe way. And that is also valid for every other transporting option that you have there. So it's not my part especially to say that. It's about the pressure, it's about like, you know, like what other things hydrogen comes in contact with and all of that. So I can't give you a detailed answer, but just to say, if anything bad would happen, like if we had an explosion which would harm people or whatever, like the industry would have a problem as well. So I'm pretty sure that the engineers will work very much forward to ensure security at all times.
Great, thank you for that one. Cool, got a question from Vinco. He says, so we can think as hydrogen as one solution to the renewable electricity storage problem. We can only produce hydrogen from electricity. I think that's a question. Are there more sci-fi ways of obtaining it that don't involve electricity? And if so, how far are they into the future?
Well, we can also produce it from gas or coal, which we could do, like it's possible. We use a little bit of hydrogen in our world already. And 98%, I think, of that is being produced, especially on the basis of methane. It's now cheaper still, because as all the technologies that are new, they're going to be more expensive at first, which is the green hydrogen in this case. So there is definitely other ways of producing it. They're not very climate friendly, so for me, they don't make any sense. Like considering the goal that we all have together. The sci-fi ways I'm not so sure of. Like we have the electrolysis process is actually a pretty good process. Pyrolysis might be something to look at, which is interesting. Yeah, pyrolysis maybe to a certain extent, but it's not researched that well yet, but it exists. But yeah, that's all I can say for the sci-fi notion.
That's great. That was a great question. So a question from Peter Tickner. Hello, Ulrike. Do you have figures for efficiencies in, for example, transport and heating, including transparent full life cycle analysis for the vehicles and for the requirements of heat pump installation?
There's definitely tons of studies where you could find that, not necessarily from me or us, because we're rather on the policy advisory side, and then on the, you know, like institute or university technical focus. We work with this data as well that we obtain from other institutes or universities. So we're of course very science-based and fact-based. But the research that I showed from Agora, Verkehrswende, like the two graphs on heating and cars, at least, they do have a webinar. I think I still have it open, so that's really interesting. I think that's only on cars, not on heating, and I think it should be available in English as well. I posted in the chat when I find it. But there's definitely studies around that. And that was basically life cycle analysis to a certain extent already with the efficiency, but of course, everything can be a lot more detailed than that.
Perfect. Yeah, thank you for that. Question from Kat. If using water as a source for hydrogen, how do we ensure that this doesn't interact with water shortages or scarcity? Can salt water be used?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's a great question. And that is super, super important to consider. We have to ensure it, basically. That's the answer. I hope that we internationally find criteria where it's being ensured that water is not being taken away from the local population or their needs or any other needs or any other conflicts, basically. But that's a short answer. What we can always do, like right now, electrolysis processes are still running on fresh water, so on sweet water. But what we can also do, we can always take desalination plants, basically, to desalinate our oceans and our other waters. So I think there is a possibility, but you have to ensure that these plants are not always very eco-friendly either. There's like materials and salts or whatever that are sometimes being pushed back into the oceans or seas, and that's not very good. So I think there's a solution to it, but I would say we have to look at it from country to country and maybe even project to project to ensure that the water resources are really there. And if not, how we can install them sustainably, or maybe also refrain from projects sometimes if it really doesn't work with the water. But just one last addition, water is not, like, the production of hydrogen doesn't use that much water. Like producing a t-shirt is a lot more water intense, to be honest. So it's like 9 liters, I think, per kilogram hydrogen.
Perfect. Yeah, thank you for that one. Got another question here from Sarah. Are the statistics shown in the efficiency of hydrogen use for vehicles based on private cars She's wondering what the difference in efficiency is between cars and HGVs and LGVs.
HGVs is what, as trucks, or sorry?
Yes, I would say so.
Okay, I'm not familiar with the English abbreviation there, I guess.
Yeah, trucks, yeah.
Okay, great. Well, the efficiency isn't very different. Like that'll be the same basically if you put it into a car or a truck. The thing is, when it comes to really heavy duty trucks that could not use electrification for some reason, like let's say that you have a truck which has to run, I don't know, 2,000 kilometers a day. And for now, we cannot make this happen with an electric battery because they would have like too short of a kilometer range. To be honest, I don't think that's very likely because drivers have to sleep as well for a couple of hours, right? So as long as we have the infrastructure in place to recharge our batteries, I think for trucks that should be possible. There might be the use case of 1 or 2 hydrogen trucks, but I think it's rather not that efficient and not that necessary, but it depends on the electrification infrastructure that we build up for electric trucks as well. But the efficiency per se will be the same.
Brilliant, thank you for that. Do the hydrogen plans from the countries that have published them include non-green hydrogen? This is from Chris Poynton.
Yeah.
Earth Justice warned the fossil fuel industry is pushing for hydrogenization as a greenwashing approach for a fossil fuel intensive process. Yeah,
absolutely. In a sense, some do, a lot don't, but definitely some do as well. And that is concerning, of course. Like you have to be careful with hydrogen, I guess, in the sense that it should be green hydrogen. Which is definitely Germany's opinion. I think it also counts for the most European countries, not every country in the world, I guess. I will also look for the study where I took my graph out of, also does have like a little graph on what does it include basically. Is it for decarbonization? Is it for industrial purposes? Where do they want to use it? Whatever. So the World Energy Council has actually done quite a nice here you go. Quite a nice analysis on that. I'll post it into the chat as well. You can have a look.
Perfect. Thank you for that. So moving on, we've got a question from Mary Stevens. To what extent are assumptions being made about technologies and processes that don't actually exist yet in the decarbonisation trajectories? If so, what are these?
Good question. I cannot tell you all of that because it's not my study and it's not my graph that I put up. But in general, what we know of, let's say steel production, for example, like we can really replace the cokes, the basically coal-based supplement that we have there right now with hydrogen completely. And if the hydrogen is green, then that is basically decarbonizing the steel process or this process by 90-95%. That is something that is starting now. It's not being there in like in a full scope basically because it just hasn't been used in all the factories worldwide. And as you might know, especially these industries have very long investment plans, right? Like, so if you would buy a new steel power plant or like something like that, you're looking into investments of like 40, 50, 60 years. So these companies really need some investment security as well. Yeah, so I think like for cement production, for steel production, for using hydrogen as a power to liquid, for example, smaller projects are already in place, and we're quite sure that all of this will really work. I'm not sure about all the trajectories that they've made in the graph actually, but you can find the study like if the slides are being sent around, then there's a link to the study, and then you can have a look.
Great stuff. Thank you for that. We'll just do we'll do one more, then we'll close the event. What we'll do with the remaining questions is I will put them to Ulrike on email and make sure that we share the answers in our big roundup later today, which Ellen very kindly puts together. So just the last question here from Sasha. Are any countries' governments or the EU setting up schemes to encourage businesses to start up green hydrogen programs? Is there legislation for this?
Absolutely, yeah. I can't tell you for every country individually, but there's definitely a lot going on in Scandinavia, also in the UK, also in Germany and France, and all of these countries. There's European EPCIs, if you've heard of it, so International Projects of Common Interests, that are also funding these projects. They're quite new, they're newer, they come from the PCIs, but now they are IPCIs. And also Germany, for example, is setting up like quite a big fund in order to fund research, but then also to fund also in order to fund the uptake of green hydrogen, for example, with CCFDs, carbon contracts for difference, that are planned at the moment. So that means that you basically, if the new technology would be more expensive than actually like just paying for the CO2, then this price difference is being covered, and it's being covered basically that you don't lose and they take out the risk in the investment. But if you want to have a look, that's CCFDs. You can research a bit more on that.
Brilliant. Thank you very much. Yeah, well done on getting through those. There's some very far-ranging, sort of easy and very tricky ones there. So yeah, appreciate you taking the time to get through those. And as I said, I think there's 2 left that we'll kind of follow up on email.
Great. Yeah, sorry, I was talking longer than I expected, actually, but the topic is just so broad.
Absolutely. Yeah, thank you very much. I'm just going to bring Hannah back on now. Great stuff. Hi, Hannah. Perfect. Well, yeah, just remains to say thanks again, Ulrike. We've really enjoyed it, and I really appreciate the level of detail that you've put in, and for fielding those questions as well. And yeah, I'm sure everyone's much more clued up on hydrogen now than they were an hour ago. So really appreciate your efforts on that. Great.
Thank
yeah,
you.
if we could have another quick round of applause, and then we'll let you go.
The comments have been going absolutely bonkers for you, Ulrike. So you maybe haven't been able to see them because you've been presenting, but there's a lot of love for the talk that you've just given us, and a lot of appreciation for all the information you shared. So thank you from everyone at Green Tech Southwest for sharing your incredibly far-ranging knowledge on hydrogen with us today. It's really appreciated. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for inviting me.
Okay, bye.
It's a pleasure. All right. Well, thank you, Ulrike. Ulrike's could go and have a little rest now. I think she did a great job, and judging by the feedback that we're seeing in the comments, I think you all agree. So that's good. Share the love. My job now is to bookend the event and wrap up. I know some of you will need to go off for lunch or to get back to work. So I will do my best to be super quick. So one thing we would like to suggest to you, our Green Tech Southwest community, if you enjoyed today's session and you would like to find a way to show that appreciation, you are more than welcome to plant some trees in our ecology forest. Ecology is an offsetting company based in Bristol. They're currently going for crowdfunding at the moment, and I've been watching their crowdfunding efforts, which are just kind of like exploding at the moment. So Ecology is definitely a company to watch. And yeah, if you'd like to say a little thank you, you can plant a clump of trees. I think you can plant 25 trees for a few pounds. I think it's £3 or £4. So it's kind of like the price of a fancy cup of coffee. And I just want to say a really big thank you to those of you that have already planted trees in our forest. We now have 1,738 trees in our Green Tech Southwest forest. And I think some of you who have planted trees are here today. So I wanted to say a thank you to you. So Csaba, Peter, Joseph Race, Matthew Green, Ness Champness, Matt Tudge and Jake. Thank you all for being kind enough to donate trees and put trees in the forest, because it's noted and massively appreciated. So thank you for saying thank you to us. And of course, no pressure. You don't have to plant trees if you don't want to. These events will be free and always will be free. As part of our efforts to bring a Green Tech Southwest community together, I like to signpost to some upcoming events of interest. Now, we already had Catherine Piper here today, who did a 60-second intro on the Future Leap Network. So I won't add much to that excellent intro that she did. But if you are in a company and you are really taking sustainability seriously, you really should check out the Future Leap Network. They had a name change, so the website is still the Future Economy Network, but the network is actually now known as the Future Leap Network. So do check them out. And Catherine told us a bit about their co-working space, which is at the bottom of Gloucester Road in Bristol, for anyone that's local to there. One community that we haven't mentioned much today is Climate Action Tech. Many of you, I recognise you from the Climate Action Tech community in the comments. If you haven't heard of Climate Action Tech and you are a tech worker and you're interested in taking action to tackle climate change, I really strongly recommend that you come and join that community, something I'm very involved with. There is a Slack community to chat and ask questions or discuss things in a safe place. Cats also run their own events. They're called cat salons. They're really good and I always get a lot out of them. Cat is also responsible for, or involved in publishing something called Branch Magazine. Now, we had a talk from Michelle Thorne about Branch Magazine back in September. Branch Magazine is an online website with articles discussing all sorts of different aspects of greening the web. It's really, really interesting stuff, very thought-provoking, and it certainly has articles that go beyond reducing the carbon emissions of your website. It's much, much more far-ranging and broad than that. So do check out Branch if you've got a chance. A couple of other interesting events that I wanted to mention. Chris did a 60-second intro earlier today about his event on Thursday the 25th of November, all about green web development and data centres. And we also had Andy come on and do a 60-second intro. And Andy alerted me to the Good Business Reconnect in Bristol, which is on Tuesday the 30th of November. And I popped in rather randomly. It's not an event, but it's a YouTube video, which I thought was really interesting. And actually, Chris Pontin signposted people to this in the CAT Slack, and I wanted to share it all with you as well. After COP26, climate change experts discuss what needs to happen now. I thought it was a really nice discussion, and I really enjoyed listening to that, so maybe you will too. Our next speaker-led event, I'm really personally super excited about this. We are having our very first panel discussion, and we have invited some absolute awesome people to come and share their thoughts on how tech workers can take climate action in 2022. So we've got good representation from Climate Action Tech, the Green Web Foundation, the Sustainable Digital Infrastructure Alliance, and the Restart Project. So I hope lots of you will be able to join us on Thursday the 9th of December for that. And after that, our January event, so it'll be Tuesday, January the 18th, is going to be themed all around transport and mobility. So we have Tom Williams from Voi e-scooters. So those of you that are in Bristol will have seen the scooters all around the city. We were quite excited to find out more about how that scheme has gone and what's been learnt from offering those e-scooters to people. So Tom is going to come and talk to us about that. And Sebastian Thomas from TripShift is going to be talking about an app that he is working on with his team that is all about helping people change behaviours and travel differently. So two really interesting aspects of transport and imagining transport in a really different way. So that's the Tuesday the 18th of Jan. And last couple of slides from me, and then we will close the event. If you're interested in getting involved in Green Tech Southwest, we are actually looking for some volunteers to help us. We've put a few shout outs for volunteers before, but we realised we were a little bit vague actually in what we were asking for and the specific help that we think we need. So we are specifically looking for help with graphic design. I do all the graphic design at the moment, and I've got to be honest, I'm not that good at it. So we could really do with some help. We also would love some help with social media and promoting our events. And if anybody is a keen video editor, we want to start taking all the videos off Crowdcast and editing them down and putting them on YouTube so they're easier to watch in the past, to catch up on the ones in the past. So if anyone's interested in getting involved, do get in touch on our email address, which is greentechsw@gmail.com. We've also popped it in the comments for you there. And last up, Your feedback means a lot to us. We've been online now for a while, not really by choice, really due to the pandemic. And we do really miss the face-to-face feedback that we get from people. If they enjoyed it, or if they maybe find something not so great about what we're doing, we really want to know. We've had some really helpful feedback from some of you already, which we're doing our best to take on board. And we'd love to have more. Obviously, if you enjoy it, tell us. That's cool. We like to hear that too. But if there's something negative, it's a real gift to us to be told that by somebody. So please don't be shy. And that's it. That's us done for today. Thank you so much for being a part of our community, for coming along to Green Tech Southwest, giving your time and learning about tech solutions. I think we all enjoyed today's session on hydrogen. I certainly did. I learned loads. I thought it was really, really interesting. And Ellen will be circulating the slides and a whole bunch of follow-up materials later on this afternoon to you all. So go well. Hope to see you all again soon. And thank you all to all of you that joined us today. Go well and see you all soon. Bye for now.